Shana Tova. Well, I didn't want to write this sermon. Really, I did not want to write this sermon. I had this huge resistance in myself for weeks, months even. There was just something about this sermon that felt really difficult. So I sat with that feeling. What is so hard about this sermon? I want to write it. I need to write it. I just couldn't bring myself to open my laptop and start writing. Eventually, I did figure out what it was. What I really wanted to say is important, I think, and I'm glad I get to say it. But I feel like I'm telling. You know telling? When you're a kid and you do something you shouldn't, and your little brother or sister goes, "I'm telling." Telling. Another weird thing happened this high holiday season leading up to right now. Another weird rabbi thing. Now, normally you couldn't pay a rabbi to talk or think or do anything not high holidays related in the weeks leading up to the high holidays. It's weird. Normally, we kind of hole up by ourselves. We feel bad for our friends and family. Our minds are so preoccupied that we don't really want to go out. We don't really want to socialize very much. I don't think we're very much fun to be around in these weeks leading up to Erev Rosh Hashanah. As it draws closer and closer, we become even more reclusive. We draw further and further into ourselves. There are sermons to write, after all, and services to outline, music to practice. High holidays become all-consuming. But something odd happened this year. Now, outwardly, I don't know if very much changed. I don't know if you would have noticed it, but internally amongst us, I noticed a huge change. We'd become oddly talkative. Not necessarily with y'all, sorry, but with each other. I've had so many phone calls and these very long texting conversations, lunches and coffees. Normally, that's the first kind of thing you slough off leading up to the season, because if anyone would understand the pre-holidays hermit thing, it would be other rabbis and cantors. But this year, it seems like we can't stop talking to each other. We just need to talk to each other. We need to be with each other. Be with other people who really know what we're going through, who really know where you are. Because when you're hurting, when you're sad and angry and tired and lost, the last thing you want to feel on top of that is lonely. That's why I feel like I'm telling. I'm telling on us, rabbis, cantors, clergy. We are not supposed to struggle. We're not supposed to feel hurt or sad or angry or lost. We're supposed to be strong. Strength cannot equal fatigue or grief or bewilderment, because those are qualities that mean you're broken, and broken and strong are opposites, right? We tell ourselves, rabbis, clergy, leaders, that we must lead by example, that if we are strong, then you are strong. And if we show fatigue or grief or bewilderment, then you will feel broken. But I think we're giving ourselves a little too much credit. We are not that powerful. Because the truth is, you feel how you feel, regardless of our facade. And the truth is, we have been broken. We are so broken. We are so broken. And as much as I don't want to be a tattletale, I was never that kid. I more so don't want to be a liar. I refuse to stand here and lie to you. I've never found it helps very much anyway. And let's say I wanted to. I wanted to get you to believe that we rabbis are immune to the pressure, that darkness and unrelenting anxiety of this world that we are forced to live in now. We rabbis are magic, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound and over all social, political, and medical travesties like it's nothing. Let's say I planned on getting up here tonight before you and telling you beautiful lies. You'd have made me the minute I opened my mouth. A most beloved colleague of mine, a rabbi in this community, and my friend, very publicly proved only a few short weeks ago that we rabbis are not immune. We have no magic. Like you, I was heartened at the hundreds of community members who volunteered to search in the dead of night, Reform, conservative, Orthodox of all stripes, for this man who means so much to so many of us. A rabbi who I can truly say, and this is something I have never heard about any rabbi before, not an unkind word can be said about him. He is gentleness itself. Thank God he was found and is safe. One thing I noticed again and again after the ordeal was over for the public was the shock still hadn't registered for so many of us. I kept hearing people say, "I just can't believe it. He seemed so okay." More shocking to me was that was my own immediate reaction. I would love to tell you that I'm somehow more perceptive, but like I said, I'm a rabbi, not a magician. And even I had that same first glancing thought when I heard, "What? Him?" I knew it was tough. He just seemed so together. His precious soul is not an anomaly. We are all of us struggling. Mimama kim katicha Adonai. Out of the depths I call to you, God. The psalmist sang it because he knew it was true. When your job is to shepherd, but you don't know where to lead your flock, are you not the worst shepherd? And moreover, are you not responsible for their suffering? Hashomer achi anochi, am I my brother's keeper? Cain asks God that after killing his brother Abel, and we rabbis teach that the answer is yes. Yes, Cain, you were his keeper. You were, we are, and we feel like we are failing you. And how does that not eat you from the inside, insidiously? And truthfully, truly truthfully, I am not just speaking about rabbis anymore. We are, all of us, in really that same way, so very broken. What we have had to endure, what we human beings have had to endure in every country, on every continent, on this planet, it is so much, it is too much. At some point, if you are honest with yourself, you have felt it breaking you. The distancing and the confusion and the numbness and the whiplash of regulations mentally, if not physically, you have felt it all just breaking you down. If it can happen to one of your religious leaders, if it can happen in some form or another to all of your leaders, and it is, it's happening to you. The numbers bear it out. More Americans report what is classified as depressive or anxious symptoms clinically than before the pandemic. More Americans are starting or increasing drug and alcohol usage now than before the pandemic. More Americans are overdosing than before. More Americans report trouble sleeping, difficulty in eating, worsening chronic conditions due to stress. Stress from what? From this pandemic world we are forced to live in now. This is not a rabbi issue, it's not a type A issue, it's not a CEO of Fortune 500 company issue, it is a you issue. And it's a me issue too. And I know the email I'm going to get after this. It's going to say, but Rabbi, you're up there squawking about me, boo-hoo. It's so hard to be me. I'm sad. Have you read the paper, Rabbi? Have you checked the news? More Americans abuse opioids now. More Americans suffer suicidal ideation now. How about more American children are going hungry? How about the Afghan children and the Yemenite children? What about the Rohingya and the Uyghur? What about the hurricane in Louisiana, the flooding in the Northeast, and the fires out west? Not to mention a global pandemic. I'm sorry. Some people are sad sometimes, Rabbi, but we've got an entire world to save. You're right. We do. You're right. Anyone who saves just one soul. It is as if they have sustained an entire world. Our Talmud teaches those words. You don't have to save the whole world. You just have to save one life. And wouldn't it be enough if that one life was yours? I think it would be enough if the one life you sustain is your own. 4 high holidays ago, I stood before you, not here, but at Lakewood Church. Couldn't be here because this sanctuary had 4 feet of water in it, courtesy of Hurricane Harvey. It took us a year to get back here. A quarter of our families took on flood damage, and all of us took on flood trauma. I stood before you, and I said how people kept telling me, people who did not flood, it was bad for me, but it could have been worse, which to me was just code for my pain isn't really pain, because this other pain, that's pain. But that's not how it works. Your pain is painful to you because it is yours. You must live with it. You must live with it. I stood before you and I said how we all deserve shlemut, wholeness. Physical, yes, and emotional, spiritual, mental. That those are no less integral to our wholeness than replacing a car or fixing a house after a hurricane. And that emotional or spiritual or mental health are not lesser healths to care for. They cannot be ignored into betterness. I said you would not ignore a toothache, right? Hoping it would just go away on its own. You wouldn't kick yourself for having a toothache in the first place. You wouldn't remind yourself every time you felt a twinge in your jaw, well, other people have it bad. Because you're right, they do. And your pain in the immediate is a toothache. If you have a toothache, you seek dental care. If you have a mental health ache, you seek mental health care. It is truly that simple. And if you don't, the consequences can be as painful and as fatal as leaving a splitting headache, a terrible cough, searing chest pain, untreated. So perhaps we feel sometimes like strength means never showing our broken pieces, but even Moses, the pinnacle of Jewish leadership, despaired of his own life in the Torah. Even God feels regret and sadness in the Torah, and neither of us, none of us is greater than them. I got it. Or perhaps because the pandemic has put physical health on laser focus. We are hypervigilant on that front, and we should be. But all of our social distancing has distanced us emotionally from each other. We are so lonely, and it is killing us. So please, call a friend, or call your doctor, or text the NAMI hotline 741-741, or if you're in Houston, call JFS, or reach out to your clergy, wherever you are, and say that you're ready to care for your mental health. You don't have to be a rabbi. You can just be a parent or a child, a man or a woman, or single, married, divorced, widowed, high school, valedictorian, or QB1, have Mayflower standing, or be a recent immigrant, because mental health is health. And you deserve shlemut. You deserve wholeness, because you're a beautiful soul. I feel like I'm telling, like I'm saying something you're not supposed to say. I'm telling on us all, to us all, about our brokenness when I say this, but I can't afford not to. We can't afford not to tell. I know that I owe it to my son, to my family, to my friends. I owe it to you to do all those things that keep my mental health where it needs to be. When I try to do those things, eat the right foods, get enough sleep, go to therapy, talk to friends and colleagues, I am a better mother, daughter, sister, friend, colleague, rabbi for it. And more than for all of you. I try to do all those things, the eating and the sleeping, the therapy and the friendship. I do them for me. I honor the spark of divinity within me by saving it. I do truly and deeply pray that you honor the spark of divinity in you and save you too. You deserve a year of only sweetness. Shana tova u'metuka.